All right, so weaknesses. Oh, there are plenty of them. If you saw the other video, you saw the roast of the articles, and you saw that there are lots of problems. But here are a few of the weaknesses. And in a minute, we're going to look at the outcomes of each of these. First of all, Congress had no power to levy or collect taxes. That's something that you would assume they would be able to do. If they're supposed to run things, they need money. And remember, that's how governments make money, is through taxes. So the fact that they can't tax means they can't really get much done. They also have no power to regulate foreign trade. Now, it's said about foreign affairs, that means that they can wage war or end and create peace. But they can't do anything about trade. So you have all these different states that are making their own treaties with countries in terms of trade agreements. That's not going to work out. Countries like Spain are going to have a big problem with this, and they'll say either we all make one together or we don't make any trade agreements with any of you. So that will be a big problem. All right, Congress has no power to enforce its laws. That's great that they can create all those laws they want, but they can't make any of the states actually follow them. So what's the point of doing that? There's really not a point. If you make a rule and no one has to listen to it, it's not really necessary. They had to have the approval of 9 states to actually make a law. It's kind of hard sometimes to get 9 out of 13 people to agree on something. That's quite a bit. And the problem is, even if you get that, the other 4 don't have to actually follow it if you only get 9, because there's no way to enforce it. And if those 4 don't follow it, eventually the other ones are going to say, well, I'm not going to follow it either. And so there you go. 13 states need to approve amendments to the articles. So an amendment is an official change to a document. Okay? So if there's something we didn't like about the Articles of Confederation, something that we realize we didn't address later, or something that's not quite right, we need to fix it, every single state needed to agree to the change. That never happens, ever. I don't think we've ever had an amendment that immediately all of the states agreed on. It takes a little bit to get the vast majority to agree on something for all the little nitty-gritty details. Next, the government had no executive branch. The executive branch is extremely important, just like all the other branches. This is how you enforce laws. So there's no body to enforce laws. So you can't enforce them. They also don't have a national court system. So this is like the judicial branch. So all we have is a body that can make laws, but there's no one that enforces them, and there's no one to judge if they're constitutional or not. I mean, this just isn't going to work out. So here are some examples of why they don't work out. No power to collect taxes. The government doesn't have money. The only way they can get money is if states basically donate to them, which they're not going to do for the most part. So they don't have money to carry out their duties. They can't regulate foreign trade, so we're going to have quarrels between states, and trading with other countries is going to be difficult. Sometimes a state will make a tariff, for example, where if you want your goods to pass through that state, you have to pay extra money. Well, it's not supposed to work like that, where the states are putting tariffs on other states. We're supposed to be working together. But they can do that, and there's no one to enforce anything different. So we have some conflicts that come because of that. No power to enforce laws. Well, the government then is going to depend on states for enforcing the laws. And if the state doesn't want to enforce them, they don't, and it's not enforced. The approval of 9 states to enact a law. It's difficult to enact laws because you have to get 9 to agree. And with the amendment, there's no practical way to change government. So any problems, you'd have to get everyone to agree on, and that usually doesn't happen. There are times where they wanted to change something, and 12 of the 13 agreed, and you would have one holdout, like Rhode Island a lot of times. And they stopped everything. So that's going to be a problem. No executive branch. You can't coordinate the work of government. You can't enforce anything you have. With no courts, there's no way to settle disputes between states. There's no way to make sure that the laws are passed are constitutional, which means that they go with the governing document. So in this case, the Articles of Confederation. So we're going to have lots of problems here. And I'm so sorry, your teachers have lied to you forever. I want to introduce you to the first 8 presidents of the United States. Yes, these are the first 8. And you've never heard of most of them. The first one, John Hanson. you're probably thinking, why? Who is this man? Well, when I say president, I don't mean president in the way you're thinking of a president. Back then, when you had a president, they weren't part of the executive branch because that didn't exist. So today, these presidents are what we call Speaker of the House of Representatives. That would be the closest thing to them. But their title was president. So if you want to get all technical, John Hanson was the first president. But George Washington, yes, was the first president, as in leader of the executive branch under the Constitution. So interesting little sidebar for you.